little bit also right there, my finger is sliding across teres minor. So I've got lats, teres major bunches up right there, and on hers that one's tight. And then in this position, that is teres minor, and it's not so tight right now. So we're going to be working those. They're going to be in the sideline position. I've put them in this position. This arm is going to be leaning off the table. And then as I get to working in here, I'm going to move that arm in some different positions, some of which would be from here up this way, because that really opens up. Now, did you see, as I put her in that position, I just instinctively went in here and grabbed that sheet and pulled it a little tight. It's not as tight here as I would like, but it's tight enough for me to work. And when I work in this area with her in this position, I will be in here working, doing different things. You'll usually always notice whether I'm on lower extremity or upper extremity in sensitive areas. Usually, the heel of my hand or something's going to be there, and see how I'm holding that sheet down as I work? Mm-hmm. And I can work in here doing anything I need to do, but this sheet is always being kind of tugged and pulled and held down by my hand. Same thing, we're not doing...
Do you want to take it from that angle?
We're not doing supine work today, but if I was working pecs in a supine position, you'd find the heel of my hand on here, holding that down as I work. Now, while I'm here, right there, that actually is pec major that's pulled up out of the way. So I can get in there and manipulate pec major right in that position too. So I've got pec major, which is the anterior border of the axilla. Lats and teres major is the posterior border of the scapula. So I'm going to put her down in this position again. Resisted muscle tension.
Pulling them at the same time, how you just did the lats and the pec major, is that myofascial release when you're doing it opposite?
Yes, if I pull opposite of each other. In fact, this would be a little more myofascial. Mm-hmm. And when you do myofascial, you press down into with some compression and then just kind of add tension in opposite directions and wait. As you wait, the tissues will actually warm up, and then you'll feel the elasticity start to open up this way. We don't teach a lot of myofascial here. I'm going to caution you guys that John T. Barnes myofascial is whacked out, but myofascial itself is good stuff, okay? It's just like the craniosacral. It's whacked out, but overall there's some good stuff to be taught. They just teach it like it's an entrance into the inner heavens or something. It's like, God bless people. All right, I'm going to use the lower hand to grasp and compress the teres minor belly. I'm going to be doing it for 8 to 12 seconds at 1-inch intervals along the entirety of the muscle. If it's too tender, I can't do all of that. I'm going to have to muscle test to figure where it is. I don't have to be on a stool. It can be down this way to work, which most of the time I prefer. I'm okay with you being on a stool. And I'm never going to say no about that. So in this area, and I'll go ahead and get on a stool just because. So in this area, remember last week when we were right up in here trying to find the long head of the triceps? Mm-hmm. And I was doing muscle testing to figure whether I was on teres minor or teres major. So I'm going to do this, push up against my hand. There we go, relax. And I just felt teres minor. So I'm just going to kind of work right here from the border of the scapula, just kind of compressing and lifting. Just a small movement. She's fairly tight in this area. She's taken up paddleboarding. Now, again, this is where knowing your clients. She's taken up paddleboarding, so I know that the tan is coming from paddleboarding on the weekends, but I also know that there's an awful lot of movement going on that's involving these muscles. Mm-hmm. So that muscle is rather tight, so I'm just going to kind of grasp it. And I'm grasping it fairly deeply so I can get the entirety of the muscle, compressing it and holding. This portion right here does need to be held for 8 to 12 seconds. There's just a tight band right in that. Is that traveling anywhere? And the grasping and lifting I'll probably need to do without lotion. They do make specific deep tissue myofascial lotions that you could probably put on there and still grasp. But I don't like to have 3 or 4 pots of different stuff sitting there. Now that's loosening up. I've gone back to redo this a couple of times. that is loosening. I feel it loosening. We're going to add a little compression right on that one a little bit. I got this compressed between my finger and my thumb. Just a pinch between the cheek and gums. I also just tricked her nervous system with a little humor. Because when I did that and she kind of laughed a little bit inside, it just released. So I'm tricky.
Wow.
You are tricky.
Very, very sneaky.
You're also a ninja. You get in, get out.
It is warm in here, isn't
It is.
it? I thought it was just me
Feels good.
being old.
So I'm freaking sweating too.
Uncomfortable.
So Swedish
Yeah, I don't feel
people.
bad. Usually I'm hot.
Of course, I don't have hardly as many clothes on as y'all do.
This is true. She has a sheet. I have layers. So now I'm going to go down and do the same thing to the teres major. There is the inferior angle of the scapula. I find that as a landmark. I know it's going to come this way. I also know it's going to go under her arm and attach right up here where my fingers are. So I'm not going to be able to reach it there, but I can see it right there in this position. Push your arm back down. Push backwards. Bingo. I feel it contracting. It's a medial rotator. Contracted her medial rotation. Good. So now I'm going to work right there on that muscle. Same thing. Now that one's talking to us.
Feeling that in my hand.
Can't wait.
So, oh, see that pop?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just going to add some straight compression right into it this way. Kind of a bending the twig sort of thing. It's really rolling on it. It's teres major that I'm on right now. You see that pop?
Kicking you off, yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to have to be on that a while.
How's it feel?
Oh, I'm tingling in my hand.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a little extra to this. Push back against my hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Relax. Right. See how I moved that a little bit differently? There we go. So I contracted it. Now I'm pinning it down and I'm stretching it. Now that's not in our routine. That's Sam's monkey business right there. That was a contract, relax, stretch on it. Makes it a little looser right down here
Yeah,
right
that's
now. I just loosened it up some.
Sam's monkey
I feel
business.
that.
How do you feel? Okay, now I'm just going to kind of take it this way. As I compress it, your wrist. It does.
You're just all tight from your glutes, your wrists. Working out.
She is working out. But right now she's studying. That's loosening up. Okay, so we're going to leave that one. Next is going to be lats. This time I'm repositioning the arm draped over my shoulder, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to get down in this position, take this arm, and just put it right up over my shoulder. And I'm not real concerned which side you have it on, but now we're actually going to work in here and grab the lats.
Oh, that feels good.
cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm grabbing the lats. Sometimes I've done this on clients that, I don't know, maybe tighter, maybe smaller. It's going to be difficult to grab a handful of lat on two of you ladies. But what I do there sometimes is, see, this is my feed the hunger hand business. I'll pin this down and then just push this. And see how that lat bunched right up under there?
I can tell that feels good.
So I'm just trying to get all of that I can, lifting that up. There we go. And the lat's feeling pretty good. Now let's go ahead and add another, pin it down and stretch this. The shoulders need a little work too, don't they? Okay. So this particular posterior axle routine is pretty much just grasping the teres, thank you, minor, grasping the teres major, grasping and compressing the latissimus. And then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to lay her right in this position, and I'm going to do a little cross-armed myofascial. And that goes all the way down to the hip, so I'm going to start down at the hip with it. Here we go. I'm just going to do a little cross-arm myofascial. And I'm really in this position, all I'm doing is leaning against her. When I lean down, it pushes my arms out in opposite directions, rather than trying to get in here and muscle it. Because if I try to muscle it, I'm going to wear my pecs out and my own anterior down. So I'm just going to kind of hold against that as it moves. You notice I've got the sheet pinned down with my hands. Now, I don't always like to stand up over clients in the front position like this. For some ladies, this might be a little intimidating, a little threatening. If that's the case, I would have them back up to the edge of the table and I would do this from where hands stand. Does that make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
I generally don't have trouble with female clients. It's because they see me as non-threatening as you get to working around me over time. And that's the thing, when they see you as non-threatening. The problem is men. Men aren't threatened by females. They're looking at females as prey.
Yes.
Even if they're nice men, they're always looking for that little extra on the side. I'm just saying it like it is. And it's what you do with that kind of information, because we all think about that stuff. Every one of us think about that about every 5 minutes. It goes through our minds. It's where we put it when we think about it. Okay? I mean, I'm going to be serious. I can look across the mall and see some girl walking upstairs thinking, "Wait, what a nice back end." Okay?
And then you put it behind you and
But
walk on.
It's where it goes. Okay? It's what I do with that.
Yeah.
That makes
You're
it
keeping it
different.
inside. You're not bringing it out
No,
and
I
putting
don't
it out
bring
on
it out.
anybody else. Yeah.
I don't bring it out.
No, I
And
know.
we can't, it's like seeing a yellow and black little bird in the backyard. Yeah, that really looks interesting. We're the same way with people. We're the exact same way with people.
Exactly.
So just bring
That's a
that.
good analogy.
Just
It
to
is.
bring that into mind, and then just kind of utilize that, and you'll be. This is continue on the next page. That is how we're going to. That's how we're going to roll with this. Okay, next on the next page, attachments of teres major and minor. It says flipping the thumb, but we're not going to flip. I'm just going to actually do a little friction to the sits tendons along here, and just some compression. And the next thing then, with the arm draped forward, serratus posterior superior. That portion with the hidden trigger point, I like to do a little different. So I'm just going to come right over here. There's my greater tubercle. So let me test you yet again. Push, okay, and push. Okay, good. So I just wanted to make sure I was on the teres minor tendon. Just adding a little friction. I'm going to come up here and friction. There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Feel that one?
Uh-huh.
That was kind of snapping across. So that one I'm going to do a little friction up and down, longitudinal frictioning on first. That one happens to be supraspinatus tendon, which is the tendon that hurts on everybody, even with a healthy shoulder. That one hurts.
And I'm right-handed, so.
Okay. So I'm just frictioning that tendon attachment right there. That's supraspinatus. Coming down a notch, right there was where that's teres minor tendon. Teres major tendon is all the way around the front, and I'm not going to work around front on that one. Okay. And while I'm here, I'm going to come up along this spine of the scapula, just underneath it. And I'm just going to friction just underneath that a little bit. Just because I can. It's not part of this routine, but I can get at that in that area. Okay. Just doing a little kneading petrissage. I did this whole routine without lotion. This particular one doesn't really need to be done without lotion. Okay, and that's all grasping and pulling, grasping and lifting, which is petrissage
Feels
related.
really good.
And that's opened up. Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.